Welcome to the VŌC Podcast.
Good day to everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the VŌC Podcast. This is a very special episode because this is the 30th episode of the VŌC Podcast, so congratulations to us. And this time we're back with a very special guest, Harry S. Robins, the voice of Dr. Kleiner and the scientists, the Tinker from DOTA 2, and we're very pleased that you're back for another episode. How are you, Harry?
Well, I think I'm all right. I so far have avoided catching the plague.
Oh, wow.
And its new variations.
Yeah.
That's great.
I also did some soldier voices for Half-Life, too, although I don't know how many versions of the game use them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, that's great. We'll get to that in a moment. But you mentioning that you didn't caught the plague, it just really gets me to the Half-Life mind, like you're a scientist and isolated from the world.
That is true. Well, I did a voice for Plague Incorporated, which
Yes.
seemed to be a kind of a prophetic game.
I find it a bummer that they didn't use your voice for like the actual game, just the trailer. I think it would have been cool.
Well, I'm available.
Yes.
As I hope they know.
Yes, please hire him. Hire him.
Yes.
Well, what have you been working on, Hal?
I've been working on doing my online show, and I'm doing writing, and I'm also doing a painting and working on a lengthy art project for a friend of mine here in San Francisco who has he has a yearly parade called the St. Stupid's Day Parade. And actually, once again, it didn't happen this year, but it has been happening for more than 40 years, and I'm creating a parody tract talking about it. Are you familiar with Jack T. Chick's tracts?
No. Tell us about it.
Well, maybe you are blissfully free from them because they go all over the world, and they are Christian propaganda in comic book form.
Really?
Yeah, they look like this. Have you ever seen them? They're about this big, and they're 24 pages long, and they're full of a story, and in the end, usually the people end up roasting in hell who are in the story. So what you're seeing here is a parody that I drew of one of these tracts. I was also in a movie about Chick and his work. It's called... Well, the movie was made after I did this. I think it's called God's Cartoonist.
I see.
So I'm somewhat interviewed in there. There's also a book where I explain how to make one of these tracts. But the one I'm doing now is for the First Church of the Last Laugh, and not for Jack Chick fans. But let's see if I don't know if you can see any of these pages here.
Yes, we can.
Often there's demonic warfare with angels and demons fighting for people's souls, and then they hate the Catholic Church and they think they've got a supercomputer and are planning to destroy the world. All their crazy beliefs. I tried to put them all into this tract. Are you seeing it backwards? Because I
No.
Oh,
We're
we can
seeing
see it perfectly.
well, yes.
All right.
If you guys are interested,
Very
just please
clearly.
pause it and you can read it. Actually, that
Okay.
reminds me that a lot of people of such demonic stuff and Catholic stuff are very, I guess, they don't like it because it mentions Catholicism and demons and all that stuff. But I think it's a very interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, it seems like you could, have you ever thought of, I mean, I know that a lot of, religious groups, I'd say mostly Christians, leave like little booklets out on like bus stops and stuff. And all
These are
sorts
the
of things.
ones that they usually leave. Here, my protagonist is being thrown into the fiery pit right next to
God.
Hitler.
So
Here.
cool.
Are those purchasable somewhere, or is that
Oh, there we
purchasable?
go. Okay.
You can get them, yes, through Monster Wax. A new edition just came out with a yellow cover, where he made one change in a panel that I didn't like, but it's a well printed copy.
I'm not happy to tell you this, Hal, but you better not show the whole thing because the people will not have a reason to buy it.
Oh, I'm not showing the whole thing. I'm just
Okay.
here at the end. The
Oh,
false
wow.
friend turns out to be the devil. In one of these tracts,
my
a
God.
chick also had the devil painted in red at the end, but they're usually all.
Oh, wow.
In fact, they're always in black and white. However,
Right.
Chick, who is now dead, produced comic book size comics, and his crazy friends are still producing tracts like this. So you find them all over California, all over the United States, and they go to other countries. They go to Africa.
Oh,
I'm sure they
wow.
do lots of damage in creating fundamental Christianity.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, it's hard to draw in this format, mainly because Chick always puts lettering, printed lettering in the balloons and not hand lettering like I would like to do. And so I produce them, but then I have to get them scanned and printed, and then I have to figure out the proper size for the lettering and reduce it. And I have some panels that are entirely on the computer, but for the bulk of them, I'm going to need to print out the lettering, cut it out, and lay it into the panels before I have the matrix that can be copyable.
Oh,
Anyway, I meant to have it done by St. Stupid's Day this year, but I didn't, and I'm still working on it because I have other things to do, and it's
Of
hard
course.
to keep it going. But I
Right.
will. I must finish this. I'm hoping maybe in the next month because in June I'm doing some traveling to do some shows.
Oh, well, I think your art style is very exceptional. I also see in some of those Ask Dr. Hal cover pictures that you have sent me. I
Oh,
really like them.
the posters that I made.
Yes, the
for
poster.
the-
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, that's just, of course, compositing things that I find on the computer, as well as some scans of my own art that I use for the borders and the illustrations.
Well, they're great.
Thank you.
And you said you were traveling. Where are you headed towards? Like which
Well,
cities?
if it happens, if everything doesn't get closed down because of these resurgences, I'll be traveling from San Francisco to Hannibal, New York, to do a subgenius festival called the Real X Day. Of course, it's not the Real X Day. The Real X Day is July 5th, but this is a splinter group. However, they're paying me to do it. And then I hope to see my girlfriend, and then actually she will drive me from Buffalo, New York to the Hannibal, New York site. Then I might be
that's
able to
great.
visit my friends in the East. I have other girlfriends out there, depending on how long I stay. Also, my sister lives in New York State, and I would like to fold a visit to her into all this. But though I'll be here in the first and last days of June, for most of June, I will be gone.
Mm. Well, we're wishing you safe travels, right?
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Then I'll be
course.
back in July, and if Burning Man wants me to go there to do my show, as I've been doing for 22 years, I will go to Burning Man if I can get there. There's a trailer for me and so forth. But there's a new administration, and my department head no longer is there, and maybe these newer people won't want to give me and an assistant a coveted Burning Man ticket, in which case I will miss it.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, I thought it would be really cool to have you, come to Atlanta or somewhere. That's where I'm closest to. It'd be really cool to have, you do your Subgenius shows Maybe
Really?
down
Well, we're looking,
south.
I think, although last year the X Day was held at a nudist colony in Florida, a place called the Land of Id. It was by the southern tip of the Okefenokee Swamp. There were walking catfish walking across the place. But that place got sold suddenly, which was a big surprise. We thought we would be doing it there from now on, and we only had that 1 year there.
Well, that's
And
sad.
so-
How long were you there? So you went to Florida to do that?
Yes, I went to Florida. I was there for a week. I had just done another show in Northern California, and in getting ready for that show, I threw my back out, so I was hobbling around in pain. It took a long time for that one to get better, and I was also hobbling around at the nudist camp, and it seemed to me that my trailer was the farthest one from the center, and so I had to walk and walk and walk to get there. Also, I didn't know the layout of the place until about the day I had to leave, so I'd get mixed up and get on the wrong path and get on the wrong side of the lake and then have to retrace my steps with my back grinding all the way.
Oh, wow.
When I got in the pool, I'd think, I'm better, everything's it's fine. But when I got out, I'd say, whoop, no, it's not fine. I'm still having the same trouble. Time heals all wounds, and so eventually I got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you weren't feeling the weightlessness of, the air around you that you were feeling in the, just chilling out.
Just the gravity was difficult. Of course, we have a ceremony in the Church of the Subgenius here. We baptize people, and that was held in the pool in Hannibal, New York. It seems like it will be held in a pond that has snapping turtles in it. So, when that is over, I'll be happy.
You said you're gonna. Now, did I hear that right? You said you're gonna baptize, individuals.
The Church of the Subgenius has J.R. Bob Dobbs as their EPOP, or there are a number of books that we put out. The Book of the Subgenius is the most famous, still in print. Then Revelation X, the Bob Apocrypha, and I have a lot of art and stuff in that one, as well as in the first one. And then there came several others, so you can learn all about it there. It's hard to talk about. I'm looking around to see if I've got any Subgenius propaganda in reach, and it's everywhere, but I don't know if I do. Anyway, here's a little sticker. This is the faith, which you may have seen, of J.R. Bob.
Oh, yes, I have seen that, yes.
Yes, this is the symbol of the Church of the Subgenius. So the baptism is where you take people, it's a parody religion, so we take people into the pool or the pond and we ask them to renounce the conspiracy and all its works, and then Reverend Stang baptizes them, and I usually catch them as they fall back in a religious ecstasy. Otherwise, they fall into the water. I catch most of them. Some I'm not able to get my hands on. They fall too fast.
Right.
Well, that sounds pretty good, and we wish you the best of luck with that.
No, I wish you the best of luck.
It's what we do.
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck with your. It sounds to me like, you're like on a mission. Like you're like it's like anti-missionary, mission work.
Well, it is connected with the radio shows that I do. Also, those are also Subgenius productions. And I have a short story in the book The Three-Fisted Tales of Bob, which was nominated for some kind of an award. It didn't get it. A lot of the Subgeniuses are represented there. There's also the Cyclopedia of Slack. A Subgenius is always trying to find slack. Slack is sacred to us. Then, before the internet got started, we had one called High Weirdness by Mail, where we showed how you could get in touch with this other network of weirdos, and we would send things back and forth in the mail. We would send recorded cassettes and things, but the internet has made that one obsolete. However, it is still available, I suppose, as a historical curiosity. Some of the addresses in it are still good. And
it would still be fun to do some mailing, with audio cassettes. It sounds like an ARG.
Yes, and then as you're driving around or whatever, you play them on your little portable thing and listen to them, and then you might even be recording on another one and sending that one back. So those were the days of that. And recently, the Subgenius movie came out, which is called J.R. Bob Dobbs and the Church of the Subgenius.
Oh.
An earlier movie about us is called Arise, and I think you can find out about those.
I wish those movies and credits were listed on IMDb, because what's not on the internet, it's a bit hard to find if you.
Well, really, J.R. Bob Dobbs and the Church of the Subgenius is not on. It just came out. It won all sorts of awards. Was that?
Well, if it just came out.
Well, I mean, a year ago or 2 years, I guess pre-COVID. The filmmaker went all over the world, went to Australia, went to Europe to publicize the movie. The earlier one, Arise, might be there. It's been around for many years, and you can get DVDs of that from the Church of the Subgenius. To read all about it, go to subgenius.com.
Okay, we will. But as I see, your most recent role on IMDb is the Plague Inc. game.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. But guess what? We have some Half-Life talk, as always.
Okay. As much as I can, as I know about, as much as I can remember.
I think you know more than we need to know, actually, because last time you told us enough. So, Sam, why don't you ask the first question from Uriah the Vortigaunt?
Yeah, so I remember, so his name is Uriah the Vort, which is a character from, of course, Half-Life. I don't expect you to know that, but that's just a little tidbit there. So Uriah the Vort, this is username. He asks, do you yourself, Harry, relate to Dr. Kleiner on any scale? Maybe any sort of your personality. Do you think you relate to him in any way?
Well, of course, it is wonderful to be informed and have esoteric knowledge, which Dr. Kleiner does, and also to be more or less unflappable as all hell breaks loose, which Dr. Kleiner also is. Those are admirable qualities. To be involved in it in the first place might not be so admirable. I've tried to direct my studies against things which I consider harmful, and I am no longer a student of the occult as I once was many years ago. There are only so many things you can learn, and you might as well channel what seems the most congenial to you.
Yeah, very interesting. I've also looked into the occult a little bit, and in a community online where there's a online community called VRMS, which is it's like this virtual reality mystery school platform where they teach about the occult and stuff, and that's a whole world that I can't even. I mean, I've researched it and stuff. It's a big world, and there's so much in it.
Well, yes, and so much that is simply a waste of time, fraudulent, or written in codes which need way too much work to understand, although some of them can be understood. But there's still some interest in it. I'm more interested in the literary side of it than the pragmatic side.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that is very interesting. Actually, I have to say, it's some people are sometimes confused when they hear that you're a writer, and an artist, because voice actors these days mostly are just actors in general.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that may be a little bit surprising, but I think it really fits your character.
Uh-huh. Well, the character of Kleiner or my own person?
Well, your own character, kind of.
You said you'd watched one of my shows, I believe?
I have. It was like a live show, and you were
Yeah. How did you like
performing.
that?
I loved it. I mean, it's really interesting to hear those poems and everything you're saying. I believe once I've seen a video of you singing, which was also a lot of
Wow,
fun.
I wonder where that came from.
I'll
Um,
try sending it to you if I'll find it.
mhm.
But I think you're a good singer. You should consider, performing sometimes.
Well, I did have a band. Technically, I still do, but I was a professional songwriter also. I wrote songs for local politicians. I wrote plays and musicals, and in sometime when I was in Hollywood, I was paid to write all sorts of songs that have never been
Hmm.
used. I was that was when I was down there working on the TV show called The Conspiracy Zone with Kevin Nealon, and I was on that show regularly. I would introduce it, and I would do the outro, and sometimes I would do an appearance on it. And then there was one where I was actually a guest on the show and interviewed. But we had a lot of great people on the show. However, although we had many stars, Hollywood people on the show, the shows I enjoyed the most were where we found these amazing occult kooks and got them on the show. These
Really
bizarre people.
nice.
That was more fun than anything. Uh,
Yeah.
did you ever see the movie of the Philadelphia Experiment?
I have heard of
I
it.
haven't seen it, but I have.
I
Oh, I
have
haven't
heard
seen. I
of
don't know
it.
if you've seen it, Ronald, have you? But I've heard of it. It's very interesting. The
It's
whole
about a strange
concept.
incident where the destroyer, the USS Etheridge, was testing a new cloaking device that would make it impenetrable to radar, and supposedly the ship disappeared, and supposedly when it reappeared, some of the sailors had been molecularly fused to the deck. The deck had formed around them and was stuck through them with arms and legs sticking out and so
This
forth.
kind of gives me Borealis vibes.
Well,
Uh,
it's
yeah.
hard to figure out what happened, and it's all classified. But we had a guy who was supposedly on the Etheridge, who was a seaman, who jumped off and didn't get molecularly bound to the thing. That's the sort of people we had on the show. So you could tell we enjoyed ourselves there. But
Yeah.
we had, lots of Hollywood players who would be recognizable today, who are still good, are still famous. But the show only lasted 2 seasons, and we knew it was doomed when they came and said, "Oh, we love everything you're doing. Don't touch a thing. The show is great." And then
Yeah.
then we were canceled. We were replaced by something called The Man Show with Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla, which
Oh.
featured
Oh,
large-breasted women jumping on slow motions on trampolines and like that.
I am. I'm sorry to hear that. That's really
Yeah.
tragic. I've heard of. Isn't he the? You said Jimmy Kimmel? Because
I
that's the
believe he
guy.
has a talk show,
Jimmy
does he
Kimmel
not?
has a talk show now. Adam Carolla, I don't know about, but they both did this, the Man Show. This was on the TNN network, which also is extinct and was replaced by something called Spike, which
Never heard of it.
may still exist. The TNN network was originally this low rent cable station which played country music videos, and it stood for the Nashville Network. Then it was purchased and repurposed, and it became the National Network. But you know, then it totally became Spike when they were through with us. But
Yeah.
Kevin Nealon is still going strong, and he's been on a number of cable shows. He was a Saturday Night Live regular,
That's great.
and he was the host. He would go out and ask and do man in the street interviews, and he would interview the people that we had on the show, and we would have a panel. So it was was quite fun. I gave them a subgenius rap at one time.
Wow.
Then
Uh,
later I worked in Hollywood for Efficiency Studios and producer Scott Carter, who at that time was doing the Real Time with Bill Maher show. And we had Bill on the show as a guest on
Oh,
our show.
yeah. Well, if and you said it was wow. I mean, it just makes me profoundly sad that your show was replaced by something that Jimmy Kimmel did. Is that right?
The Man Show was.
Canceled.
The idea was that men would like to watch their show. Yeah, it was canceled. You know, it costs money to put shows on. They're trying to find what works for them. Also, when the pilot episode was shot, I went down there and I became something called the warm up guy, where the audience for some of these shows is a ready-made audience of TV audience goers, and they assemble in Los Angeles in the Sears parking lot. Buses pick them up. They're brought to the studio. They're paid $40 to sit in the seat and applaud and laugh and do things, which they do expertly. Before anything is shot in the show, the camera swings back and forth over them, showing them applauding. They do laughs. Now we want a small laugh turning into a big laugh, and they
uh,
do that too. But these people also have to be entertained while all the tech is being done to set up the show, and for that they get some
yes.
broken down comedian or somebody to go out and do a routine. And they thought,
Mhm.
well, why not have me do it? So I was supposed to entertain these folks, and I think I bewildered many of them. And after a while, you get to recognize individuals in the audience. The old lady with a pile of manuscript which she's constantly scribbling on, and other characters. But it works well enough. We did have a live audience during the broadcasts, and you can hear them reacting. But for the big audience shots and so forth, this was all, the paid audience goers who you usually see in the and nobody heard of our show. People will come to see Real Time and other shows because they're familiar with it and have seen it a lot. But
Mhm.
when you're just getting going, you need to bust all these people in. So
Yeah.
I thought you could write a really good play about the warm up guy, about the person who really has no status, and nobody's going to record this performance and nobody's going to remember it, but he's going to go there and he's going to take a check and he's going to get up on the stage, maybe humiliate himself, do whatever he can just to keep all these schlubs in the audience from getting up and wandering around.
Yeah.
It might be an interesting, dramatic story about somebody who lived that life. I proposed it to a number of people, but no one was interested. I think they're ashamed of the whole warm up guy business. But I think it would make a good play or a good dramatic presentation.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
I just think it's because I've listened to you do your shows, and it is very poetic and very inspired, just very literal. There's a lot of literary, poetic uh
Hmm.
stuff that you do with your jokes and stuff, and I think that's really funny that you bewildered a perhaps it's fair to say that you were entertaining a kind of like a regular normal audience that
Well, they're not
uh,
normal. They're also a species of weirdo, but they're not the
oh,
species of weirdo that we are.
right.
Unfortunately, this warm up, this show, the pilot was about, did we go to the moon or was it a big conspiracy? And I just hate that. I don't like it at all. So I spoke a lot about the moon and about previous moon voyages in literature and so on, and they seemed somewhat blank-eyed at it all. But so on. I was entertaining myself, maybe more than them. Some of them liked it. A certain proportion will always like it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and
definitely.
that's always important to as long as you're having fun doing it. But
Yeah.
it's just
You can't have a thin skin. You've just got to get up there and do the thing. And then
Yeah.
for this other project that I wrote the songs for, we went and had somebody judge what we did so far, and they didn't like it. But I was told before going into that meeting, now don't argue with them. We're here to get their input, just to see what somebody from outside this project thinks. So if they are critical, just listen, pay attention to what they say. So I did, and I actually got an insight from the guy. But the producer who was there did not. He was sort of staring off into space, and I saw that he'd cut himself a few times shaving that morning, and he had little bits of toilet paper stuck to his face that were waving. My God, the guy's a zillionaire. He's got this huge house in Hollywood, and he doesn't have a styptic pencil to close up those nicks, and he's got toilet paper waving from his face. But the guy who we went to see was the brother of Mike Judge, and the brother of Mike Judge had this tower in Hollywood they compete by having the most gorgeous secretary you can think of in the front room, and the one who was particularly gorgeous there. So we went in and we performed the songs and the stuff from the show, and the guy started taking apart, and one thing he said though was, "Where are the yearning teenagers? You gotta have yearning teenagers." And I thought, well, wait, that is there's some truth to that. Not that they have to be goddamn teenagers, but they've got to be yearning. That is to say, in a dramatic presentation, if you don't understand what the characters want, then you're not going to be interested. But you've got to understand what they're after, and then you will be involved in whether they get it or not, whether they're frustrated or whether they're successful. And each character can want something different, and this can be made plain. And they criticized our script. They said, "Oh, it's clever." Well, that's the kiss of death in Hollywood. You don't want to be clever. Clever means, oh, well, I'm glad you're having fun with this, but it's not commercial and it's not going to go anywhere. But strangely enough, the producer didn't hear this remark, which I thought was the best thing that we took away from that meeting. I still think if you're writing a show, you really get the audience if you are figuring out what the characters want and showing that to the audience. Then they'll be interested in how things go along. Otherwise, it all just slides away. It's of no consequence.
Yeah.
Do you think? I just want to. I'm just curious. Do you think that we don't really have that today? Where there's not really a clear.
It is
concise...
difficult to do. It is difficult to do. It is easy to write in things that happen in scenes. It is more difficult to hook them to an organic framework where they appear to happen naturally. And it is also difficult to create characters. You have to be able to be empathetic enough to think like the characters and to imagine what they want. So it comes down to the skill of the dramaturge. But people are wildly looking for a formula, looking for something. Formal limitations are God's gift to the artist, because now that you're limited, you don't have to worry about something over here or there. If anything can go in, anything will go in, and that may dilute your message.
Yeah, I agree.
To get a copy of the Chick parody, you should go to monsterwax at AOL.com. Oh.
Wait.
AOL.com.
Can you say that again?
Monsterwax, MONSTERWAX. You see, he produces trading cards, and I have often done the art for those. I worked for the Topps company doing bubblegum cards. Monsterwax, monster trading cards. Anyway, from that, he produced the Chick parody pamphlet, and you can get copies of the new printing of it from him.
Well,
And
we'll include the links so our viewers can purchase them.
Is anyone here familiar with bubblegum trading cards?
Well,
No, actually, no. But I do like the vintage kind of card trading that they had back in the day. Those were like,
yeah, those are
I
a lot
really
of
love
fun.
the
Well,
aesthetics.
There are two types of bubblegum cards: sports cards, like baseball cards, and non-sport cards. And of course, in the non-sport category, you get monster cards and other things. And I did paintings for those, and I'm actually supposed to finish a set which was abandoned in the 1950s and paint the last 30 cards, and then that set will be merchandised to collectors. The problem is I can't get to it. I have things constantly coming at me that I have to do, but
Yeah.
I hope to do those paintings eventually at some time and finish that set, which is called Rockets, Jets, and Spacemen. But he did a series about H.G. Wells, which included a card by me. I wonder if I could just grab that card. If I were lucky, I
Please
could
do.
pull it out of this mess. Let me just see if it is possible. Maybe I can.
Is Lamar there? Is she okay?
Running around
Lamar.
the place somewhere. Lamar was shot into space. I don't know if Lamar ever
That's
came
true.
back.
No, he'll always find his way back to his
Okay.
dad.
Here is the cover to one of the S. I didn't do this art. This is the cover to one of the H.G. Wells sets. What I'm trying to find is a card that I did, which was added to the set, and here it is. It's based on the Mars Attacks cards. Do you know what those are?
I've heard of those, yeah.
The movie Mars Attacks was based on the
Oh,
card
yeah.
set. But the reason Tim Burton based it on the Mars Attacks set from the 1950s, which showed Martians invading the Earth and committing horrible atrocities. One card was bloodier than the next. They had the shrink ray and the freeze ray and the fire ray and all these things they did to
All these
people.
rays.
Destroying a dog was one of the most notorious ones, where they
Oh.
kill a dog in front of this kid who's protesting, and they melt, burning flesh. They had all these titles. So anyway, this is a card that I made, which is in that, which would be in that series, but of course it isn't in the series. I'm trying to make it look like the other cards in the series.
That reminds me of Einstein from Half-Life, the scientist, one of the scientists.
Well, now that I remember the Mars Attacks movie now, because I remember, Tim Burton directed that one. I could see it on the card. So
Right. Well, they also produced a series of cards that went along with the movie. But the curious thing is that and those were like widescreen, long ones with all sorts of stuff added by the Topps company. But the Topps also produced a series called Dinosaurs Attack. And this is what Tim Burton wanted to make the movie about. But since he couldn't, for some reason, he made Mars Attacks. But he wanted to do the Dinosaurs Attack set, and I have a number of cards in that one. Actually, the stickers, which with what you get is a piece of horrible inedible gum, and you get about 5 cards. One of them is a sticker. You have to keep buying the gum and the cards in order to assemble the big set of cards, and that's what kids would do. So I did half the sticker set. I guess, and I don't believe these are too difficult or too expensive to get. Unlike Mars Attacks, which would cost a fortune to get the set these days.
right. And which one was it that you were completing that was discontinued? Was it the Mars Attacks one?
No, Mars Attacks
Or
is
the other
over
one?
and done with. It's called Rockets, Jets, and Spacemen. But I have to to complete the story by doing my 33 paintings, which sounds like a lot and is a lot, but I can't do anything like that until I get some of the things done that are being done now.
Yes.
And there's some people who want me to put out a whole book of my art, but I
Oh, wow.
I can't
would be
even
cool.
get to that until I get some of this other stuff done.
Yeah,
Well, it's good to hear
Yeah.
you're a busy
We would-
man.
I would
Well-
love to see that.
Yes, well, some of it is probably just too difficult to get my hands on. I tend to sell it all, to sell the originals to collectors and buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all my comic art was sold that way. So to get it in the book, we'll have to take photos of the best printed copies and things like that.
Oh, that's great. So since you're a writer, right? I believe you have a credit on IMDb. You helped out with writing for Half-Life, some dialogue. I'd assume.
Yeah, I was able to improvise some dialogue. They suggested it in the recording session, so
Oh.
I gave them more stuff to use.
Do you have
Yeah.
like a favorite line? Not specifically from Dr. Kleiner, but for example, from the scientists in Half-Life 1 or the
Just
soldiers.
the general scientist, population.
I don't know, perhaps talking about the ichthyosaur and saying that it never evolved here, something like that, I think. Is
Somewhere else.
my line. Yeah, right.
Yeah. That sounds fun to work on, different lines as a character. I believe you said in one of the interviews that it's like, really important for you to want to have, creative influence over your voiceover.
Well, I
So-
like to, but that's an unusual privilege. If you're doing voiceover, you should do exactly what they want you to, and not
Yes.
improvise unless you get that. Unless they suggest that. But
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Valve was
Yeah.
very good at that. Also, I did the voicemail for them for their
Yeah.
Right.
office. I don't know if they probably still don't have it up. I don't know. I haven't called them for a while.
Yeah, it would still be nice to recover that. Yeah, I don't think they even have a phone Well, no, I'm sure they do, but not
I
any
did it
widely
as
available.
Kleiner. You see,
When did you do it? Do
called
you
them.
remember kind of when was that around?
Oh,
when you...
hello, welcome to. It's more in the line of to get so and so, press so and so, but I peppered it with Kleinerisms and also said, oh no, so that did something terrible. Oh, we'd better fix it. That sort of thing. Well, out of the first Half-Life, that was good, but I was working from a script there, of course.
Yes.
People, if they want to get in touch with someone, will be impatient to have to hear a routine of some kind before they are connected to that person. It is
Yeah.
necessarily short and succinct, but just enough so that you could tell it's Kleiner who's directing you.
Yeah, listening to Dr. Kleiner is a pleasant feeling while waiting to, get on the line.
Well,
Well, not
he's
too
not going to
much.
turn into a horrible monster and get you, unlike others.
Press 5 to start the resonance cascade or something
Yeah.
like that. Oh no, something horrible has happened.
A resonance cascade scenario.
Yeah.
Yes, and we wouldn't want that.
Oh, right. I think it would have been funny if actually Hal would have recorded for the zombies, because since the head crabs are attached to the scientists' bodies, I think it would have made a bit sense.
But do they even have vocal organs anymore?
Well, there is some kind of a sound coming out of them.
No, actually, yeah, there's something coming out of their muffled mouths when the head
bubbling
crabs, cover their
sound.
face.
Yeah. And there's a question from Space Pirate. So I would love to know if he might ever consider doing something like Cameo. Do you know what Cameo is?
Yeah, a cameo is where you pop up in somebody's movie, and they just see you for a moment.
Well,
Yeah.
what they meant, Cameo is like a website or like an
Oh.
app that allows you to book celebrities or actors or whatever, musicians, to record you a short video with, for example, wishing them a happy birthday, or like, they can make you say whatever they want for like a, I don't know, a specific amount of money. So would you
It
ever
sounds like a good gig to me. The difficulty
Mhm.
is the people not knowing who I was. It should probably be accompanied with an animated Kleiner figure wishing them happy birthday. Or
Well,
Well,
it would be like,
no.
you record yourself,
hmm
wishing them a happy birthday. Or, it's really whatever they want, but they could pay you a specific amount of money, whatever you set
hmm
up. And I think it would be very nice because the people want to interact with you, but since you're not on Twitter or anything like that, and Facebook is like, they say that it's for old people, this new generation. So,
Well,
you
it
know,
may be because it's parents can look at it and so forth. Actually, my current show is on the OSI 74 network, which has Mr.
mm,
Lobo's show and several others. The problem is that since I'm going to be traveling and since the producer of the show will also be at this event, we're not going to be doing one in. In June and maybe in July when there's another festival called Starwood going on, unless we can figure out a way to put a rerun in place and have it automatically come on. And it won't be an interactive one where people can ask me questions like the shows that we've been doing. The last one of those for a while will be the one coming up in May on the 10th,
mm.
I believe.
Yeah.
Well, that's
10th.
good to hear. I'll try somehow helping you with this cameo thing if you're interested. I think it
Sure.
would be interesting for the people,
I should also point out you can download all the previous episodes and watch them by going to the website. And
which
so
which is
it is the one on the poster. It's https colon slash slash gonzotronics dot
uh-huh.
net forward slash adh forward slash.
We'll of course include that in the description so you guys can check
Well,
it
good.
out.
Good. Maybe we'll get some people to ask questions on the show. It is
Yeah.
the same one that's on the poster, but because you can't click on the poster to get there,
Yes.
usually I provide it in the comments next to the poster, so
Yes.
you can just click on that. And we had people complain that it was too hard, when all you had to do was push two buttons. So we
Mm.
revised the whole thing. Now you only have to push one button. People
What
said,
does
I
the
don't want
one
to go
button
there
do?
and jump through hoops. Well, now you
Yeah.
have to jump through one hoop the fewer to do it.
And what does the one button do, though? What does the one button
Uh,
do?
you know, I have no need to go there, and so I can't tell you. All I know is it's
Yeah.
been
Plays a
designed
sound.
to you can go to a place where you can connect to the show, where you can send money to me, or where you can download a previous show.
Mm.
All the posters are there from the previous shows, and I think maybe you click on them or click under them and download the show. The
Mm.
money thing is, on the show people pay for me to answer a specific question, and for a good question or for a good amount of money, they get extra things. And then people who help us will receive an Ask Dr. Hal coffee cup or
A
something like
coffee
that.
cup?
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
it's got
wow.
the logo I made for Ask Dr. Hal on it. The outer space letters, the
Mm.
letters that have planets and stars, and
Yes.
on the side of a porcelain coffee cup. It's easy to get those things done, and so people who have appeared as guests or who have helped us to get those cups mailed to them.
That's great. Well, if you guys
Yeah.
are, interested in, if your question wouldn't make it into this episode, you can of course go on to that website, which will include in the description, and you can ask Dr. Hal literally anything,
Yeah.
even about Half-Life.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, we have our next
There.
question over here from Sir Fo Man. Since 2013, J.J. Abrams has been trying to get a Half-Life movie off the ground. So would you be willing to play Dr. Kleiner in live action if you were asked?
Absolutely. I played a mad scientist in the movie that I made. It's a part that I've often played, so I'd be happy to.
Yeah, and he also asked, what was it like working on Chameleons?
Well, Chameleons was a low-budget movie that had only about $1 million total in its budget. But my brother, who is not alive anymore, worked with me, and he and I built the laboratory set and a number of the devices that were used. We always used to mess around like that, and we both had labs and were interested in certain processes, so we were able to build these contraptions, including the dimensional pod that one sees in the movie. Or rather, let me be specific, actually that dimensional pod was designed by Jonathan Horton. It was constructed by Lee Mason, but there were other things like the coolant tank that my brother and I worked, and especially the console that is seen to the right of the coolant tank. All that stuff worked. The dials worked. It's a pity that the only shitty copy of the movie that exists now is so fuzzy, because you can't see necessarily that those machines respond. And then when everything goes haywire, I took a cigarette and I added a different tube to the apparatus, and I blew tobacco smoke, just before it was going to go crazy, that started coming out through the equipment, and that was the way we did that. But a lot of stuff was just from turning the camera backwards, under cranking, basic lighting effects. We didn't do as much of that as we should. The whole set of the other universe was built by my brother, and if we, at one time the crew was playing around with it and said, "Hey, look at this!" By changing the light, it was really dramatic. And I said, "We just shoot that, put it in the camera, we'll use it." And they said, "No, we can't until it's authorized," and the director was off doing something else, so that was never used. Too bad, because just by shooting a couple feet of film, we really could have livened those scenes. So what was it like? We had, in every movie, there are people who are a godsend. There are also people who are wreckers, who are in there to destroy your movie for one reason or another. The proportion of wreckers might have been a little too high there. Particularly one producer who I'm convinced is the one who sent the complete soundtrack to Hong Kong, where it was totally lost.
Yeah.
She was good at coming onto the set and screaming at people, giving orders, and the actors, Hollywood actors, are always hugging and kissing each other, but this made this puritanical woman see red. She'd burst onto the scene and say, "Stop hugging and kissing," and people didn't know how to react to that. Anyway, I must have said that there is interest in reviving the movie from Vinegar Syndrome, but we don't have a complete sound track. We have a re-edit that was paid for at the time that has more of the original thing in it before the Hong Kong edit, which is where non-English speaking Chinese tycoon hacked the movie up and cut a large chunks of it out. We do have a complete and perfect negative of the whole film, but without the soundtrack material, it will be difficult to fill in these gaps. In the meantime, Michael, the director, who's the supervising animation director for The Simpsons, says he's got a lot of editing experience under his belt now, and he would like to take this material and re-edit it and make it all zippier. So that wouldn't be authentic. It would probably be better if we could ever produce a disc, a Blu-ray or a DVD. We can have a commentary track. He wants to have a rock and roll music thing on there. Maybe the different versions of the movie, and we can dream on. It really seemed about a year ago or half a year ago that this was going to happen, but we haven't heard back from the vinegar syndrome people. I got a catalog in the mail. I think this is the catalog that Edward Hamilton, and they also have CDs and DVDs. And I noticed there are certain movies that you never heard of, and they are from Vinegar Syndrome. So Vinegar Syndrome is reviving these movies, and they may eventually get to ours. That's what we're hoping. In the meantime, the vault in L.A. closed down, and I had to go have Michael go there and collect the 35 millimeter reels and take them out. Otherwise, they would have been thrown away. And now he's got them. I think he's storing them at Gracie Films in a nice climate-controlled vault. If only my other films could have been treated that way.
They can't be recovered?
Well, they're in a box right next to me. They're in a film box, but I lack the ability to project them to, I don't have a working projector. I'm afraid that they may have aged with the heat and temperature. Sometimes they survive. The splices, they might not work. They need to be digitized. I may be on the trail of somebody who can do that.
That'll be good. I mean, by divine providence,
it's of interest to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, perhaps they can be recovered. I mean, I remember there was just a bunch of comics stored in a box and stored in this really hot garage that's just in our garage, and it was fine. I mean, it's not like good film, but
the problem
it was
with
just
chemical film is, though, it is vulnerable to heat and temperature fluctuations, and all my brother's films may have been wrecked like that. I have I have a couple of mine in the box, and other things I made were completely lost forever. Stuff I did for television on a primitive videotape that was 3.5 inches wide. All completely lost. A lot of stuff gets lost.
Yeah, true. So Tong Bi Quan Master asks, were you aware that Valve didn't reprise you for your role as Tinker in Artifact?
No, I was not aware. I wonder if the voice matched the one I did for them, since that was a voice that I produced that was not synthesized. They were going to synthesize it, and I said, just let me try to do it. And then they liked the one that I did. But you can make a copy. Maybe they got somebody that they liked better. I don't know. I was happy to do that one.
I think it was the fact that Tinker didn't appear in that game. But there's also a question if you would be willing to come back to voice Tinker for future Dota content.
I'd be willing to come back to anything. The difficulty, as I've said earlier, is the getting right with the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Radio and Television Artists.
Is that SAG-AFTRA?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, to pay the dues to restart. It's too rich for me. In the past, Valve was willing to do it, but
hopefully they'll do the same.
It may be easier to hire somebody who is paid up, but I couldn't afford to keep paying the dues for years when I wasn't being hired. And as an economic member,
it's difficult.
Yeah,
but I don't think they'd hire anyone else for Dr. Kleiner. I mean, you're the only one.
Well, I hope so. I hope that they would do it, because of course I would be happy to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if the fans requested enough, it may be possible.
Well, I have a feeling that you'll be returning soon, actually.
That would be really great.
For some new Half-Life game. But there's a question over here that, what did you think of Mike Hillard, aka Dr. Isaac Kleiner, the sound-alike man from a fan-made Half-Life remake called Black Mesa? Last time we talked about this, well, I'm not sure if you heard him, but I have a clip over here that I can play you, and I don't know, I guess you could I know.
Well, you should play it because I want to. I thought I did hear it. Let me see if this is the same one that I heard.
Oh yeah, the one that you the guy you heard last time, he goes by the name online Skizix.
Yes.
He's voicing Dr. Kleiner in a mod that we're working on called Raising the Bar Redux. But there is actually another guy that you might not be aware of. His name is Mike Hillard, and he did the Dr. Kleiner voice in a mod like Half-Life 1 remake called Black Mesa.
Yes, it's a huge mod. In fact, yeah, it got to Steam as well, and it's very great. So let me play you right now.
Why do we all have to wear these ridiculous ties?
And another clip, which says, I hope this is it.
That one?
That one.
That one.
So what do you think? Yeah.
Good enough. You know.
It works. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clear who
but-
it's supposed to be. That's an important thing.
Yes. And actually, since we're already here at, making you listen to stuff, would you mind reenacting a few lines from Half-Life if I play you the clips?
All right.
If that's okay.
You mean that I hear the clip and then I say
Yes.
it? Okay,
Yes.
Well, I'll try.
Yeah, only if you don't mind. They're pretty. I mean, it just makes people nostalgic because
All right.
if you think about it,
They had a number of different line readings to choose from in each case, so they chose what they considered.
Oh, yeah.
But to go ahead and let's try it.
Okay, here's
let's
the
do it.
first one.
My God, what are you doing?
That one sounds like me.
Yeah.
Was it? Was that me?
That was
Yeah,
you,
that was
yes.
you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, what did I say? My God, what are you doing?
It
Yes.
sounds exactly like you did because, well, that's you. So,
Well,
you
listen,
know.
there are many ways you can say a line, and it depends on what word you want to inflect. You could say, "What are you doing?" You know.
Yeah.
My
Anyway.
God, what are you doing?
We have the favorite, very famous one.
Why do we all have to wear these ridiculous ties?
You have to figure that with everything going on, he's exasperated with that in particular. Why do we all have to wear these ridiculous ties?
Yeah, it's exactly like it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there should be some peevish discontent in the voice at that point. It's not an important thing. It's more like an aside.
Yes.
More
There's
like
one man
cursing,
once,
except Kleiner doesn't curse. The most he'll say is "oh,
doesn't.
hi." and
This
so
is from Half-Life 1.
And fiddlesticks.
on. Yes,
That's
right.
something that
Right.
which I had to look that up last night.
Mhm.
The next one, to give you some context, Gordon Freeman is attacking a fellow scientist, and you're trying to tell him off. So let's see.
Stop attacking! He's a friend!
Right. Well, of course, you have to say that with a certain amount of urgency. I guess that was the one that they chose. Stop attacking! He's a friend!
Yes.
Oh.
And we have the last one, which is a crazy one. You remember screaming and being in pain for Half-Life?
Vaguely.
Okay.
Things like that were separately recorded, just in the non-vocal noises.
Hmm. I believe that might have been somewhere near the end of the
Uh-huh.
recording because you need your voice. So I'll play it and see if you can do it.
Stop!
Okay, that sounded like
That
it
was
just
so fast.
overloaded the mic there. Yeah, it was like really fast.
I'll try again.
Try it again.
Maybe try to turn it down a little bit because it sounded
Okay.
like it.
Sorry.
Just let me...
Stop!
Well, I was talking. Try one more time.
It says stop, by the way, just so you know.
All right.
Stop!
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. Stop!
Yeah. There's a
Put
lot of
some
emotion.
guttural in there.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
stop.
and by the
Stop.
way, I think that's probably the community's one of the most favorite lines that you do, and it's like something about it. They spell it like STA, like HP, like it's because it sounds like you're saying stop, like stop, So
Yeah.
that's a fan
Yeah.
favorite, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, it got
Yeah.
very, very favorite.
Make it a little longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Entity, I'll give you the opportunity to ask the next question.
Yeah, well, there's a lot here. Let's go through the community questions that we gathered here. So I don't know if you've actually heard of this, but so there's these videos. So there's like these videos that Mike Hillard made, the guy who works on who was a voice actor for Black Mesa, who voices the scientists. Have you seen the videos of Hillard as Kleiner performing such hit songs as Sir Mix-a-Lot's? There's a song called "Baby Got Back," and then there's Afro Man's.
That's hilarious. I like it.
Yeah,
I wish we could get
remember
versions
listening to those
from you of those songs, and I'm sure that would be a hit. You know, we just gotta somehow get you the fans, you know, like somehow get you in touch with them and vice versa. And I'm trying to think of a way. Cameo so far is the only way that I see.
Well, that could work.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, for Cameo, you know, you said like you might want to see Dr. Kleiner get animated for that. You know, mostly the whole thing with Cameo, that app, the website, whatever, you know, you don't, one of the kind of big thing about Cameo is that you don't need any animations from characters. Like the whole thing about is like seeing the actors do their thing.
Well, I don't look like Kleiner that much, but I could at least put on a lab coat or something.
Exactly. Yeah. You can look like how you did in Chameleons.
Yeah. And you don't need to look like the character. That's just if you want to make the listeners even more happy.
Thing that identifies.
Yeah. So last time when we talked about Half-Life Alyx, I think we kind of misunderstood each other. So Half-Life Alyx is a new Half-Life game, actually, released in 2020, right? It was a virtual reality game. Have you heard of virtual reality? It's like a headset that you put on.
Yes, I've been there. Yes.
Yeah, and so apparently Dr. Kleiner was supposed to be in this game, but he didn't make the cut. I wonder why. So I wonder if Valve
because they didn't contact me, maybe because of the SAG-AFTRA thing, possibly.
No. It has nothing to do with that. They were going in different directions with the story, so they were experimenting with different characters. They ended up, they did have you in as the Dr. Kleiner in like a concept, but then they ended up going different directions and ended up putting another character in there for their own purposes for the game. So nothing to do with.
Although I have a feeling in the next Half-Life you will definitely show up. We're not sure in what stage is this game, if it's like a script or like in pre-production.
I wonder who's writing that script. I wish they could get Mark Laidlaw back to do it.
It's disappointing that Mr. Laidlaw is not working at Valve anymore.
Yeah.
Although, to my knowledge, the new Half-Life game that came out was pretty good. The players liked it. I believe that was written by, I think, Jay Pinkerton, and among the others, but I'm not sure.
Abrams movie you talked about really sounds interesting. I know you could make a good movie. He could make a good movie, but didn't he get into some problem with being accused of sexual tweaking or something?
It's possible.
I'm not sure.
I have heard of that, but again, I don't know, because I believe later he made the Star Trek movie, which was good. I don't know.
Those are good. Those are well done.
And then he did the new Star Wars stuff, so I guess he was sidetracked, but I have not been keeping up with them myself, but yeah, he wanted to make that movie.
It's happened. Directors have projects they want to do, but then something else comes along and they get hired.
Yes.
Very possible. That would be great.
Yeah, it would be. Just imagine a Half-Life movie. And actually, IGN. Have you heard of IGN, Hal?
I'm not sure.
It's like a favorite, like a big company that talks about games and video and films.
Yeah, I think I know who they are.
And now they have had a list of video game movies that are coming later. I'm not sure if in this year particularly, but it had a half-life on it, and I wonder if they plan on, if it's true. I'm not saying it is, but if it is, I wonder if they would bring you back as Dr. Kleiner.
Well, I also wonder if they would, and if they wanted me, they could get me now.
Yes. I'm just so happy that you're so super interested in, doing podcasts and like what we're doing now, because some actors they don't want to publicize themselves and they just want to stay actors. But I think it's hard to stay as an actor or a writer unknown.
Absolutely, you must be current. You're only as good as your last picture, and so forth. But I haven't been able to do my live shows during this period. This thing in New York is an exception, and the odd thing is I had to cancel another show that was supposed to happen right at the same time here in California. They let me off, fortunately. But usually, as you know, I was supposed to have a revival of my nightclub show, but it didn't happen because of COVID, of the surge and so forth. It still might happen.
I have a feeling it will happen soon.
Hope so.
It's getting better, the situation in the world, but now we have a war. So there's always something that will try to prevent us from doing what we like.
Yeah, so World War III could put a crimp in all our plans, certainly.
Yes. So let's hope that will not happen. Well, so Tonga Baikwan, I believe, is asking, so there is a Tinker line that is related to his lore, whatever, his story, and it's not like a recorded line, but it's all we have is a text. And he says, if you could say this text and you could give life to this quote, he'd be very, very grateful, and I believe all the Dota fans. So is it possible?
I seem to the voice. I'll do what I can do, but I'm not. If I could hear the sound.
Yes,
of the
certainly I can play you.
That would be helpful.
Okay. Wait. A goddamn ad. Okay, let's see.
Feed the heat. Incoming. Heads up. I wonder what this does. Ooh,
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
And the quote is, I'm not sure if you can remember this. There is nothing the arcane can accomplish that the curious mind cannot reproduce given time and proper funding, of course.
There is nothing the arcane can accomplish that the curious mind cannot reproduce, given time and proper funding, of course.
Well, that was just great. You still got it. You still sound like the Tinker.
Dota fans are happy now.
Well, that's because I did an unaugmented voice. They were going to mess with it, but then they decided that they liked it as I gave it to them.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
And, well, I believe there's another line request over here. If you could say, here, my pet, pop up. No, not up there. No, careful, Lamar. Those are quite fragile. Sam, if
That's
you could.
another thing that we're
paste
going to
that
have
in.
to write down real quick
Yes.
that I can quickly copy and paste within.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm only looking at this
millisecond
from
there.
my phone.
That would be
so
good.
can't
I
do
would
that.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Kleiner.
I see it. I see it now. So let me.
Yep.
Well, wait.
That's
No,
the
I
one.
don't have it all. I have only a fragment of it in there. Let me look in the chat and see. Okay, let me try it. Here, my pet. Up. No, not up there. No. Careful, Lamar. Those are quite fragile. Oh, fine. It'll be another week till I can coax her out of there.
Actually, that's fantastic. I think the person that wrote that said "oh fine" and not "oh fi." I guess they wrote that and it auto-corrected
Oh, I
the
see.
"oh fi" thing. That
Oh.
bad word. You know.
Well, let me
So-
try again then. Here, my
Oh
pet.
yeah, sure.
Up. No, not up there. No. Careful, Lamar. Those are quite fragile. Oh, fie. It'll be another week till I can coax her out of there.
That was just amazing.
Bravo.
Actually, there's
Bravo.
one thing I'd like to mention, because since we're now in this call, I get the opportunity that Since I'm a voice actor myself and I do Half-Life 1 mods, so I got the privilege to voice some scientists in a Half-Life 1 mod, and this really means a lot to me that I get to talk to you, and
Well,
if I could show you off my scientist voice, and if you could perhaps say something about it, I'd be very grateful.
All right, let me hear.
Hello, fellow scientist. Do you know who ate all the donuts? Yeah, that's a personal question for you too.
Yeah.
Do you know who ate all the donuts?
It's a good question.
I'm supposed to answer
If
who
you
ate all
can.
What has been your game theory about who ate all the donuts within the past 20 years in Half-Life?
Gordon Freeman.
It could have been anyone, but I hope that it's not good for Morgan's blood sugar levels, particularly while wearing this special equipment.
Right.
Morgan.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dr. Gordon Freeman. Yes.
I suspect it was Dr. Freeman who deprived us of donuts as well as everything else. No,
Yes.
I am sorry. I should not say that. But
I agree.
there are no donuts.
Yes.
Probably Lamar or Barney, but I mean, there's a bunch of variables to factor into that. But
Well, I didn't do
Yeah.
Barney, but would Barney eat them? Who knows? It's boring there. There's not much to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in the New Mexico desert, have you ever been there, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
No,
live
that's
in the Arizona desert.
Oh,
Nice.
wow. That's
Very cool.
great. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted, fellow scientist. Now I must get back to work. If I just know where did I put that calculator. Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank you.
and we're pretty much out of time. So, one last thing, Hal. Could you say farewell as Dr. Kleiner to our viewers?
All
And
right.
if there is anything you'd like to, say about the VŌC podcast.
Farewell to all of you, and whatever else you do, please continue to listen to the VŌC Podcast. This is essential.